I never thought the people who watched me build my dream from scratch would be the ones to take it away. It wasn't strangers. It wasn't some corporate rival. It was my own mom and dad. They saw me pour 7 years of my life into a company that bore my name. They saw me take out loans, miss holidays, lose sleep, and hold it all together through things most people would have folded under. Then, one December morning, just before the holiday break, I was locked out. No warning. No explanation, just an email saying the company had been restructured and handed to my sister Tiffany, a woman who never spent a single day inside those walls. Not one. But what they didn't know, what they never thought to check, was the one clause in the contract that still had my name on it. This isn't a family feud. This is a reckoning. Stick with me to the end. And let me know where you're watching from, because I have a feeling I'm not the only one whose success was stolen by blood. I remember the exact moment it happened. It was a Tuesday morning. I was in my kitchen in Colorado Springs, making coffee, checking email like I always did before heading to the office. Except the login failed. At first, I thought I mistyped the password. Then I tried again and again until the screen blinked, access denied. That's when my heart dropped. I opened Slack. My name grayed out. I opened the admin dashboard. Gone. I called our IT manager, someone I hired, trained, gave their first shot in the industry. He picked up, awkward as hell, said, Madison. They said you were stepping down. I hung up. Before I said something I'd regret, 30 minutes later, I got the email from a firm I'd never dealt with before. On behalf of the new executive team, we confirm the reallocation of leadership and the official transfer of voting rights to Ms. Tiffany Blake. Tiffany, my sister. A woman who once told me she thought startups were for people who couldn't get real jobs. A woman who taught English at a private school in Boulder. She hadn't been involved in EduBrite for a single day of its 7-year climb. Yet somehow, she now had full executive power. I called my parents. Dad answered. Calm as ever, I asked. What the hell is going on? He replied. It's what's best for everyone. You've been overwhelmed lately, or you're tired. You need rest. I nearly dropped the phone. Rest, I hadn't asked for rest. I hadn't missed a deadline. I hadn't dropped a single investor call. I'd been running at full capacity, sure. Stressed, but no more than usual when you're keeping a startup alive through a volatile economy. He kept going. Tiffany's more stable. She knows how to talk to people. You, Madison, you're great at building things, but it's time to let someone else steer for a while. I couldn't speak. I just stood there, holding the phone with white knuckles, staring out the kitchen window at the snow melting on my porch. Then came Mom. She picked up mid-call, said, Honey, don't make this a fight. We still love you. This is family. We all win. No, we didn't all win. They won. By pretending I was fragile. By using my long work hours as proof I couldn't lead. By selling my ambition as instability. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I didn't cry. I simply said, You'll regret this. And I ended the call. That night, I didn't sleep. I opened every folder I'd kept old contracts, early-stage investment docs, founder agreements, every single clause and signature. And there it was. Page 13, Section B. The founding security clause, something my lawyer added back in 2016 after a scare with a mentor who tried to edge me out during our Series A round. It stated any change in control, any transfer of authority, any reallocation of shares required my notarized consent for 5 years post-founding. That clause had never been removed, and the transfer had happened just 4 months too soon. In their arrogance, they forgot to check the fine print. I closed my laptop that night with trembling hands, not from fear, from clarity. They thought I was the emotional one, the impulsive one, the girl with too many ideas and not enough polish. But what they forgot, I built EduBrite from scratch. I filed every legal form. I negotiated every angel round. I wasn't emotional. I was prepared. And the next time they saw me, it wouldn't be over dinner. It would be in a boardroom with receipts. If you've ever been painted as unstable just because you were driven, stay with me, because the moment they underestimated me, they lost. The next morning, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Not friends, not colleagues, family, aunts, cousins. Even my godmother down in Tucson, people I hadn't spoken to in years, were suddenly worried about me. One aunt left a voicemail. Your parents are just trying to protect you. Sweetie, maybe take a little vacation. Let Tiffany handle the stress for now. Vacation. They were spinning a story, fast, loud, that I was burnt out, that I was struggling emotionally, that stepping down was for my own good. It wasn't betrayal anymore. It was character assassination dressed up as concern. And my parents, they were masters of it. Richard and Evelyn Blake, the golden couple of Colorado Springs. Church every Sunday, fundraisers every Thursday, smiles like politicians, voices like therapists. And always the ability to make me look like the dramatic one. They didn't scream. They whispered. They didn't insult. They advised. They didn't take. They protected. But this time, they went too far. I called my attorney Marshall, old friend from college, the one who told me, never delete a single email. We met that afternoon. I handed him a flash drive, every document, every message, every timestamp I had. He went page by page, calm, focused, until he stopped. Page 13. His eyebrows lifted. This clause was never amended. Nope. He leaned back, eyes wide. Madison, you still control the company. Legally, this transfer, it's invalid. They tried to sell shares without your consent. That's securities fraud. I didn't smile. I just nodded. Because I already knew. What I needed now wasn't justice. It was timing. We had an investor meeting coming up. A big one. One I was supposed to lead before they locked me out. I knew they wouldn't cancel. They needed the funding. They needed to look legitimate. And I planned to walk in with everything they never saw coming. But before that, I had to watch the charade play out. Tiffany started posting office photos, a vision for the future on LinkedIn, a video smiling with the dev team like she'd been there all along. She even changed the tagline. Edu Bright, bridging the gap between learning and life. I wrote the original, every word, and now it was gone. That night, I got a text from Mom. Tiffany looks so natural in the CEO seat. Maybe it's her time now. No, it was never her time. She didn't earn this. She didn't bleed for this. I walked into that meeting on Friday with a calm I didn't even recognize. No makeup, hair pulled back, just a navy blazer and a folder. They didn't expect me. The boardroom went silent. Tiffany blinked like she'd seen a ghost. Dad cleared his throat. Mom gave that tight little smile that said, "Don't cause a scene." I stood at the end of the table, laid the folder down. "I won't waste your time," I said, "but I suggest you open page 13, Marshall," sitting beside me. Handed copies to every investor in the room. We let them read. Paper rustled. No one spoke. Then someone asked, "So this transfer isn't valid?" I didn't answer. Marshall did. "It's not only invalid, it's potentially criminal. And Ms. Blake," he pointed at me, "remains the sole authorized founder and executive under the original shareholder agreement." Tiffany stammered something about intentions and family trust, but nobody was listening because truth has a sound, and it's louder than spin. I looked at my parents. Neither of them met my eyes. For the first time in my life, their silence didn't hurt me. It empowered me. If you've ever been called too emotional while building something they couldn't understand, don't back down, because when facts walk into a room, lies scatter like roaches. They didn't say a word to me after the meeting. Not my mom, not my dad, not Tiffany. They gathered their things, hands shaking, and left like school kids caught cheating on a test. I stayed behind, sat at the head of the table, the same chair they'd tried to pull out from under me, and I took my time. When the last investor handed back their copy, most just nodded, but one smiled. A silver-haired man, the same one who once called me too aggressive in a pitch meeting, walked over and said, "You handled that like a damn surgeon." I looked up. I don't yell anymore. I prepare. He tapped the folder. This was surgical. When the room emptied, Marshall looked at me and said, "You know this isn't over, right?" I nodded. "They're going to try again. Want to sue?" I paused. Thought about it. No. I want to end it without another war. He raised an eyebrow. Then we need leverage. And we had it. Over the next 3 weeks, we froze everything Tiffany touched, every account, every transfer, every invoice she signed. We filed a notice of breach with the Secretary of State, recertified my executive status, updated legal counsel, HR firm, core clients. Then I sent the final email. Subject line: final terms, Richard, Evelyn. Tiffany, you are hereby removed from any involvement, advisory or financial, in the operations of EduBright Solutions. You will be refunded your original investment of $43,000 in full. You will not be sued. You will not be named publicly, but you will never step foot in this company again. I attached the wire confirmation. No love, Madison. Just Madison Blake, founder and CEO. 10 minutes later, my mom replied, "I can't believe you're doing this. We're your family." I didn't answer, because she was right. They were my family. And that's what made it unforgivable. They didn't just try to beat me in business. They tried to bury me in silence, tried to turn my story into something they could control, like I wasn't the one who wrote every damn page. I took a week off, not to rest, to rebuild. I brought the team in, told them the truth. No PR spin and no excuses, just facts. Some were shocked, some weren't. But every single one of them stayed. And when I walked back into my office, my real office with my name still on the door, I brought one thing with me, a photo from 7 years ago. Me in a hoodie, hair in a bun, sitting cross-legged on the floor, whiteboard behind me that read, EduBright Beta launch 11 days. I hung it next to the door to remember where I started and why no one else gets to finish it for me. Tiffany never replied to the email. But someone told me she moved to Arizona, took a job at a community college, still introduces herself as former CEO of EduBright. I let her. Because people like Tiffany need the title more than they need the work. And me, I've got plenty of work left to do. I still see my parents sometimes, at a distance, at church, at the grocery store. They don't approach. I don't wave. We're not enemies. We're just no longer related in the ways that matter. If you've ever had to cut blood ties to save your own soul, know this. You didn't fail the family failed you. And if they ever try to write you out of your own success, take the pen back. It's been 8 months now. The emails stopped, the gossip faded, the story that once kept people whispering in elevators gone, but still, I carry the scent. Some nights, I lie awake, wondering how long they planned it. How many times they smiled in my face while drawing up documents behind closed doors. How many dinners they sat through listening to me talk about growth, fundraising, strategy, knowing they were preparing to take it all away. And the worst part, I wasn't even surprised. Some part of me always knew. My parents valued image over truth. Tiffany was the golden girl, the one who fit the photos, who made them look good at brunch. I was the one who ruined the pictures. The one with dirt under her nails. The one who asked too much, who spoke too loud, who never waited for permission. But I stopped apologizing for that a long time ago, since taking back full control. EduBright has grown faster than ever. Series B funding $6.2 million. 2 new school districts onboarded. A pilot for adult learners is expanding statewide. And every new milestone feels like breath. Clean, quiet, earned. But it's not just the business that changed. I did too. I don't over-explain anymore. I don't send follow-ups to smooth things over. I don't flinch when someone questions my decisions, and I stopped asking my parents for anything. Not approval, not grace, not updates, because I finally understood. They didn't just try to take the company, they tried to rewrite who I was. And I took that personally. The hard part wasn't forgiving them. It was forgiving the version of myself who kept believing they wouldn't go that far. The girl who thought they'd never do that to me. The girl who still brought homemade pie to Christmas after the first silent treatment. The girl who hoped that building something great would finally earn her a seat at their table. She was brave, and I mourned her, but I don't miss her, because the woman who replaced her, she doesn't need a seat. She brings her own table. My therapist once asked me, "What does closure look like to you?" I told her. Walking into my office, flicking on the lights, and knowing there's no one left pretending to help, while plotting to replace me. I kept the chair they gave me when the company hit its first 100,000 in revenue. Leather, polished wood, nameplate on the back. They had it engraved to our daughter, the trailblazer. Funny, isn't it? They gave me a throne, right before trying to pull it out from under me. Now that chair sits in the break room. Anyone can use it, because I don't need a throne anymore. I just need the truth, a whiteboard, and a team that believes in the work, not the bloodline. And as for Tiffany, she emailed me last month. No apology. Just a subject line, "I miss you." I didn't open it. I didn't need to, because she doesn't miss me. She misses what being near me made her feel like important, accomplished, connected to something real, but none of that was ever hers. And I'm done loaning out my light. If you've ever had someone take what you built and try to claim it as theirs, know this. It's not about what they stole. It's about what they can't recreate once you're gone. You were the spark. You were the soul. And without you, all they have left is silence. Last week, I stood in front of a group of high school girls at a local leadership workshop. They invited me to talk about entrepreneurship, how to pitch, how to build, how to lead. I brought slides. I brought stats. I even brought a little trophy. Edgy Bright won last quarter. But halfway through my talk, I tossed the slides aside. Because one girl in the front row raised her hand and asked, "What do you do when the people closest to you don't believe in you?" She didn't mean classmates. She meant family. And in that moment, I wasn't a founder in a blazer. I was just Madison, a woman who once begged her parents to see her worth and watched them give her legacy to someone else instead. I looked her in the eye and said, "You remember anyway. You remember what you've built. You remember who you are when no one claps for you. You remember that just because they don't understand your dream doesn't mean it isn't real. And you build anyway." The room went quiet when I finished, the good kind of quiet, the kind that feels like being seen. Afterward, that girl came up to me, didn't say much. She just hugged me and whispered, "Thanks for not making it sound pretty." I smiled, because it wasn't pretty. It was painful. It was humiliating. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Losing everything taught me what parts of myself were non-negotiable. My voice, my boundaries, my ownership. I used to think success would heal every wound, that if I just achieved enough, maybe my parents would respect me. Maybe Tiffany would stop resenting me. Maybe I'd finally feel safe in my own skin. But success didn't save me. Clarity did. Clarity about who I was building for. Clarity about whose voice I let in. Clarity about where my value begins and where their approval ends. Sometimes, clarity looks like a locked door. Sometimes, it looks like an empty chair at Thanksgiving. Sometimes, it looks like telling your story not so they'll understand, but so someone else won't feel alone in theirs. I live in a small craftsman house now, not far from the coffee shop where I used to write code in the early days of Age You Bright. I walk to work. I grow tomatoes. I take days off without guilt. I laugh without permission. And the company, it's thriving. But more importantly, it's mine, built in truth, protected by wisdom, run by people who would never steal credit because they know what it costs to earn it. I still have that engraved chair, the one my parents gave me. It's in storage now, wrapped in a blanket, not out of sentiment, but as a reminder, that throne was never mine. Because I was never meant to be anyone's princess. I was meant to be the builder, the one who lays brick when no one's looking, the one who stays standing when the floor gives out, the one who doesn't wait to be chosen because she already chose herself. So if this story sounds familiar, if you've ever been replaced, erased, or betrayed, especially by people who said it was for your own good, then hear me now. You are not too much. You are not too ambitious. You are not hard to love because you want more. You are the reason something exists that didn't exist before, and no one can take that from you, not even blood. Tell me where you're watching from, and if this story touched something in you, share it. Because somewhere, another woman is standing outside a locked office wondering if she'll ever get back in. Let her know the door they closed on you isn't the only one that opens. Sometimes, the best seat at the table is the one you build yourself. We don't always see betrayal coming, especially not when it wears a mother's smile, a father's voice, a sister's hug. We tell ourselves family is where the heart is, but sometimes, family is where the deepest cuts come from. This story isn't about revenge, it's about remembering your worth when everyone else tries to rewrite it, about standing in the ashes of what they took and realizing they couldn't touch what mattered most, your identity, because titles can be taken. Offices can be locked, but character keeps building even after the ground breaks. If you're listening to this thinking, this could have been me, maybe it was me, you're not alone. So take a moment, breathe, leave a comment, tell me your city, your story, or just say, I'm still standing, because in a world that keeps telling us to step back, stay quiet, and be grateful, sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is, no, this is mine. We don't always see the betrayal coming, especially not when it wears a familiar face, a mother's smile, a father's voice, a sister's hug. We tell ourselves, family is where the heart is, but sometimes family is where the deepest cuts come from. This story. It wasn't about revenge. It was about remembering who I am when everyone else tried to rewrite it, about standing in the ashes of everything they tried to take and realizing they couldn't touch what mattered most. My identity, because titles can be taken, offices can be locked. But character keeps building even when the foundation breaks beneath you. If you're listening to this thinking, this could have been me, or maybe it was me, you're not alone. So take a moment, breathe, leave a comment, tell me your city, your story, or just say, I'm still standing. Because in a world that keeps telling us to shrink, to stay soft, to say thank you for less, sometimes the most powerful thing you'll ever say is no, this is mine.